Why would somebody find something that's better than what they're currently experiencing and then just stop doing that thing? The thing that I struggle with is like, when? When is gonna be the low? Like, do you have to have a health scare to finally take your health seriously? Man, watching these David Goggins guys and, doing incredible things, I'm like, they're just crazy. Why would they do this? It doesn't even seem fun. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, well, why would they keep doing it? There's something there that I don't understand because I've yet to experience it. So if I haven't gone where they have gone, then of course I'm going to think it's crazy because I don't know I don't know what's on the other side of that. I don't know what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
But it's obviously good enough for them to continue to do it. So maybe they're not that crazy. Maybe there's just something on the other side of that that's so great, that's euphoric, that they get to experience every day, and we just call them crazy because we just don't understand it, because we've never tasted what they taste, because we've never took ourselves that far.
Welcome to the show, Trevor.
Thank you. Happy to be here, man. It's good to see you again. And it's been too long.
It has.
Since the last face-to-face.
It's been a journey to get you over here.
Yeah.
I've been peppering you.
Yeah,
When are you coming to SoCal? When are you coming to SoCal?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when you plant a seed, you water it.
I do.
Yeah.
People say I'm a pain in the ass, but I say pleasantly persistent.
Yes, very persistent, and I like it because I know that I needed to get down here. And I'm self-aware enough to know where I'm weak, and I should be more open to traveling and doing, everybody's, hey, network. And, owning a business and networking when you're kind of a hermit crab, those two things don't really go together that well, right? And so you pulled me out of my shell and brought me here. And so I appreciate you for it. And I've already met cool people thanks to you. So thank you for that.
Well, of course. And, it's funny you call yourself a hermit crab because we actually met at an event. I think I was speaking. You were there as an attendee. It might have been $100 million.
No.
It wasn't $100 million?
No.
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 Shoot.
Well,
the first time we met was
obviously I didn't make it that memorable.
No. The first time we met, I did your show, but that was when I was there. But we met the first time at an event.
I think it was Avengers.
So
it's pretty much, it was kind of, same thing.
Because the first
time
same thing,
but cheaper. So I was at the discount version of $100 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then you guys invited me over. I made a little pit stop in St. George.
Yes.
I was speaking at an event in Zion, and you said come by the office, and I got to do your show, meet you in Kale for the first time, and do a tour, and fell in love with that whole area.
Yeah.
St. George.
Yeah, we love it. We love it there. I tried to move away, dude, and I missed it too much.
Where'd you go?
Salt Lake. It's too cold and there's too many people. I don't like, being down here is absolutely incredible and it's beautiful, but there's too many cars. Mm-hmm. There's too many people.
Yeah.
I moved to a town of 900 people for a reason.
What do you mean 900 people?
There's 900 people. It's not even a city. It's still a town.
Where's
you have to have 1,000 people.
Hold on. There's more than 900 people in St. George.
I moved outside of St. George to a little place called Virgin, Utah, on the way to Zion.
Okay, because I was going to say, because where the Everbowl is in St. George, and that Chick-fil-A, there's 9,000 people in that parking lot.
Yes, I would say probably more.
Yeah, that was...
Especially around lunchtime.
Yes.
Yes, that's a crowded...
So Virgin,
Utah. So have you ever heard of the Red Bull Rampage, where those guys are jumping off, like the mountain bikers are jumping off like these big old mountains and...
I've seen videos.
Backflip. Yeah, whatever.
I didn't know it was called
Red Bull Rampage. They do it in Virgin, Utah, every single year in September. So we have, all these people come to this little town of 900 to watch these guys, ride their bikes off of cliffs. So it's pretty. That's what we're famous for.
I did not know that.
But if you blink on your way to Zion's National Park, you won't know that you went through Zion or Virgin.
And that's where you are now.
That's where I am now.
Is that where you were when I was there last time?
No, look, man, I'm a big believer on, creating environments that are conducive to the outcome that you want, right? And, it's like telling your kids, go outside and go play. That's what we did when we were kids, right? And so it's like you want them to have the same experiences that you had. Go ride your bike, go play, Don't play video games. Don't just sit in the house all day, whatever. But like the more I thought about it, it's like, well, the environment in this day and age is different, right? And so saying go out and play, there's a lot of different things that they have access to that's going to keep them in the house. And so it was like, you know, I bought this beautiful lot on top of a hill because when I was a kid and I grew up poor, I said, you know, that's success, having a house on the hill, right? And so I sacrificed and I sacrificed and I sacrificed and saved and saved and saved, paid cash for this 1 acre lot overlooking the city. And when I bought it, I lost all motivation. I wanted nothing to do with it. And so I had to look inward and kind of audit, well, why did I want the house on the hill? Like, well, is that to prove to everybody else that I find this poor boy finally made it? Or was that just a dream that the poor boy had, but I'm no longer the poor boy? So like I had to update like what my goals were, right? Mm-hmm. What are my dreams now for the version of me that I am currently? And it was like, I don't want my kids to grow up like, and I don't, everybody's different. Like this is my perspective and my opinion. I didn't want my kids to grow up in that environment, where it was around a bunch of other rich kids and this, that, like, and I wanted them to play outside, dude. I wanted to create an environment that was conducive, inviting for them to go outside. So we started looking on the outskirts of the town that we live, and we love the town that we grew up in St. George, but it is getting bigger. You know, there's more people, there's more traffic, it's growing, it's expanding. The parking lot at noon has 10,000 people, and you know, and so it's just not like it was when I grew up there. And so I said, okay, well, what do I want now? Now that I've made money and I'm older, and this is no longer really what I want, is the house on the hill. Everybody kind of look at me, I made it type situation. We said we want to grow up, or we want our kids to grow up where they can run outside, get dirty, build jump there, you know, that type of experience. And so we bought a little over 3 acres right on a river, the Virgin River, has an orchard, a horse pasture. I built a BMX track out in the horse pasture for my son. You know, there's wild turkeys walking the property. We get a skim board because I have irrigation. I get to flood my property with irrigation. Me and my son will be out there in our yard on the skim board and go skimming. And so it's just, you know, the Red Bull Rampage is out there. The mountain biking is amazing. So me and my son will go ride bikes together, running every single morning, which is what I do. I get to see the sunrise come up over Zions National Park. It's just that environment was conducive to what I wanted for my children. You know, I've got 30-something chickens. I've got a couple cats that kill the mice that run around the yard. I've got a dog. My neighbor put their horses in my horse pasture. It just feels good to me. It feels like I found peace, right? And your home should provide a level of peace. You know, when you're done doing what you're doing every single day for work or your job or whatever, and I open my gate and my tires hit the gravel and I'm pulling into my property, everything's right with the world, right? And so that was a big shift for me, from the young version of Trevor saying I'm going to be a success so that I could have these things, mm-hmm. versus, you know, the version of me that got beat to shit through the process and had to change and grow and evolve, and become something new for the result that I now get to experience. And that version of me didn't care for that stuff anymore. I don't care about the shiny objects or material things. I care about, you know, the experiences and the environments that I put myself in and that I put my children in. And so that was super, super important for me. And I wanted them to grow up and have a kind of a small town life, you know.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you also came to that clarity.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're around a lot of people that have maybe didn't start with a ton of success, but achieved it through, obviously with RBO, the mastermind, as well as, you know, just the podcast, your business, all the things you do. And I have found at my age now, and we're about the same age, that there's the perceived, what you think you want when you're young, what you perceive to be success, and usually if you're in business and entrepreneurship, there's usually dollars signs next to that, and shiny objects.
The more expensive, the better. Yeah, that's what you want, right?
In your head anyway.
Yes.
And then you finally possibly achieve it. Right? You maybe sell a company, your company gets to that level of success, you achieve that bank account status you were after, the house on the hill, the shiny toys, the fancy cars, whatever it is. And then you lose purpose. And it's a common thing.
Yes, very.
And it's surprisingly how common it is, to the point where when you don't have it, you think that's what you're after. When you do finally get it, you realize the journey of obtaining it was actually the enjoyment factor, and you don't get to go back because you have it. And to find that inner drive. And so my question is, and we're going to bounce around a little bit with this episode, because I love where you're going right now, is how at the stage that you were in, with the level of financial success you were at, the business success, the house on the hill, that you were able to refine that purpose and passion, because you are more driven today than when I met you. It's clear as day.
Without a doubt, because when initially I was driven by money, and I think that can only vibrate at a certain frequency, right? And when you're driven more by, making an impact and becoming the best version of yourself for other people, so that you can show up in the world a better version of yourself, so that other people can be impacted in a positive way. When you're doing something for other people, it seems like, it's a lot easier than doing something for yourself, right? If me and you say we're going to be gym partners, I'm probably going to show up to the gym if you say you're going to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's easier for me to show up for you than it is for me to show up for myself, because I might make an excuse and just sleep in, right? Because I'm not going to let anybody else down. And here's the thing is, I thought there was going to be something at the end of making a bunch of money that I didn't experience. And I'm not saying that, that's not there for other people, right? Sure. Like I was at the lowest point of my entire life when I made when I was making millions annually, personally, right? And so that was like a big wake up moment for me. Like, then what? Make 3 million a year, 5 million? Like, where does it end, right? It's now no longer about the money. So it forced me to look internally and ask myself some very, very tough questions, right? And so I would say the version of me that I am today is because I went through one of the lowest points that I had ever gone through after I had made a bunch of money, because it didn't bring me what I hoped it would bring me, right? And so when you go through a low like that, and you actually make, let's call it a midlife crisis, right? Like I do believe every human will experience a midlife crisis, and I believe the midlife crisis is basically life saying, okay, the version of you that got you where you are today is no longer going to serve you moving forward. That's your crisis. You have two choices in that moment. You have a choice to, kill that version of yourself and reinvent yourself and find new purpose. What is the meaning of your life now moving forward? For that first period of time, it was money. That was the meaning for me, right? I had to rechange and redefine my purpose after that point. Option 2 that you have, which unfortunately I would say the average or the majority of people do, is they distract themselves from that low that they experienced during that midlife crisis with drugs, with alcohol, with pornography, with cheating on their spouse, with, anything external that will make them feel something other than what they're currently feeling, right? And so it's like it's okay to be at a low place. Thank God I went through that low place, because my life now has way more purpose than it did prior. And if I didn't go through that, I probably would live on the house on the hill and kind of be like, okay, well, I'm just going through the motions of what everybody else defines success as. I made the money, so I should have these things now, right? Like, dude, I don't want to play by those rules, because for me, it just didn't feel right. And I'm more operating based upon the way that I feel right now versus what somebody else says I should do or what society thinks I should. I might be misunderstood by a lot of people, but I finally understand me, right? And for me, that was a big deal, going through that low, redefining what's important to me and honoring that despite the criticism that's received along that process, right?
What do you think that criticism stems from? Do Do you think it stems from the fact that those people who maybe are criticizing, you're doing something that they're actually inspired but won't be able to see themselves doing? Or does it come from a place of ignorance that they just don't understand because they're not in your shoes, living that low or experiencing what you're experiencing?
I think I think criticism comes from, obviously misunderstanding. So they don't understand why you're changing. You're breaking the original contract that you had with them. If they've known you for 10 years and you hit a low point and you decide to, change who you are for the better because it feels right, and you're no longer honoring the way that the old version of you used to operate, basically you're breaking an agreement with somebody that's like, no, dude, this is who you are, and this is who you're now fake. You're being fake. You're not doing what the old version of you does. So now I'm going to talk shit behind your back because you're acting in a way that I don't know you as.
Yep.
Right? And so they criticize you trying to change because it's breaking the contract that you had with them. So they believe that you're not being you anymore, and you think that you're better than us now, all of a sudden. You know what I mean? When that's not necessarily the case. It was just like I was at such a low point that I had two options. Either stay at a low point and keep just doing what I'm doing, hoping that something changes, which ain't going to happen, right? Or rebuild just tear it all down to a brand new foundation and rebuild in a way that makes sense for you, because you already did it the way society said you should do it, and it didn't work out in the way that you thought it would. So it's time to do it the way that feels right to you.
Well, and hope's not a strategy.
It's not a strategy.
It's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, but it's not a strategy.
Yeah.
You don't get in, you just don't get there with hope.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Dude, I mean, where do you think the 1,002 a day started, bro?
I'm assuming at that low.
At that low. Why? Because I asked myself, at what point in your life did you feel best? And I said, you know what? When I was moving my body and doing it, like the 75 hard, I know it's cliche, whatever. And there's a lot of people that say, oh, when I did that, I felt great. I was focused. I was this, I was that. They say all these great things about it. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me that you were operating at your peak when you were doing this and you felt so well. So like, why aren't you doing that anymore? Why would somebody find something that's better than what they're currently experiencing and then just stop doing that thing? And so like I was sitting there watching people say these things, and that was the start of my 1,002 a days. Was I was at a low point. It was December, and I'm like, okay, and people talk crap on New Year's resolutions. A very low percentage of people see it through. Okay, a very, very low. And that's and you're completely accurate to say, hey, if you're gonna change, like,
do it now.
Why wait till next week or next year? Like there's not a magic date that appears on a calendar that all of a sudden the fairy comes and says, boop, you're different, right? But for me, at that low point, and I experienced that through 6 months. So 6 months prior to that, when I was hitting my midlife crisis, I was about to turn 37. So I was 36. I was 39 days before my birthday. And I said, I have to do something to prove that I'm a better version now than the younger version. I gotta show me undeniable proof that I'm getting better with age. What can I do? So I was just kind of going into my, what can I do? What do I hate doing? I hate running. And so I decided to run 37 miles on my 37th birthday, 39 days before it. So I walked into
you weren't running at all?
At all. Zero. Right? And I walked into a room and I said, I'm running 37 miles for my and people turned around, they laughed. I'm like, okay, sweet. I'll put that chip on my shoulder and eat that shit on mile 30 to finish it up, So during that 39 days, my life felt different. I had something big and scary that I was trying to chase or achieve. And I did it. And then I stopped running.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, within a 2 or 3 months time frame, I was back to kind of a low spot again. And so that's when I was like, okay, well, when I'm setting big, scary, crazy goals and moving my body in a maniac type way, I feel really good. And so like I was just kind of mad scientist, how am I going to create a life of consistency to have a feeling like I felt when I did that, right? And so January 1st was like, okay, I'm gonna start 75 hard, but I'm gonna do it longer. I'm gonna do it for 100 days, and then after 100 days, I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna just stick to one diet, right? Because my wife makes really good dinner, and so I'm gonna honor her dinners, and I'm gonna eat it, right?
If you need some help honoring that dinner, let me know.
Yeah, whenever, bro. Come to this little town. We've got you. And so I said, what if I could do the 2-a-day things for a year? So it's funny how like one little goal turned into a bigger one, and then a bigger one on the path to stretching yourself just a little bit. Then it went a little bit bigger. And then after a year, I was like, dude, I've done it for a year. I can't just like walk away from this.
Yeah.
And I said, what if I could do it for 1,000 days in a row? And so after the year, it was, I said 1,000 days. And
what day are we on?
I'm not certain, okay. I'm not, it's 830 something, right? So it ends September 28th this year is the 1,000 2-a-days. And
are we ending, or is it going to get extended?
The 3-year mark's just right there from September to the, and so I plan on continuing to honor the way that I currently live, not necessarily like setting 5,000 days in a row or anything like that. I do struggle with it a little bit because I want to try to run 100 miles, and that takes at least 24 hours. So like that's not a 2-a-day. That's just like one workout. It's just a really long one. Right. So I struggle with some of that. That's why I haven't done it yet. But I thought about maybe capping the 1,000 days on day 1,001, maybe doing like a 100-mile run, but then it would mess up my 2-a-day. So I still don't fully know what I'm going to do at the end. I know that I'm going to continue to try to push myself in a very extreme way because I've watched a ripple effect of people around me that have started living a healthier lifestyle and doing things to make their life better just because I chose to make my life better. Yep. And there's an incredible ripple effect that happens when you don't even have to set out to try to make other people's lives better. When you set out to make your life better, by default, you will make other people's lives better because you will have a ripple effect,
I agree. And I think that for those listening who might say, well, I'm not in a position in life where I want to push my body. But what you're saying and what I have found with my own version of my own journey doing something similar is when you create circumstances in your life that force you to do very hard things every day.
Yeah.
You remove something that I've now figured out, which is you remove the want to. So many people won't do things unless they want to.
Yeah.
So they don't work out on the day they don't feel good, or they won't study on the day they're not up for it, or they won't pursue their dream on a day where they're just tired and lazy because they don't have the want to.
Yeah.
And you've learned to remove the want to from the equation. It doesn't matter if you want to do a 2-a-day.
Yeah.
It's 800 and something days, you're doing a 2-a-day, whether it's raining, it's snowing, you're sick, your knees hurt.
I've seen it all.
It don't matter.
Yeah, I've seen all those.
And when you remove the want to from anything that you're trying to accomplish, you will accomplish it.
Yeah.
Because it becomes like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
You will do it.
Yeah. And I don't wrestle with my mind anymore. Like I get up and I run my 10 miles. Now, I'm not saying that it's not hard or I don't prolong it, but it's not a question of whether I'm going to do it or not. It's going to happen. Now, my mind does still turn on me and want me to sit on the couch a little bit longer and not go out the door or whatever. Or sometimes if I'm going to run this path and there's hills, it's like, well, turn left right here and it'll be easier. So it's still trying to find the easier way to do the thing, but it no longer fights me on the actual thing, right?
And that's how, in my opinion, success becomes inevitable. And I believe success is a formula.
Yeah.
Success is personal. Like you said at the beginning, it could be money, it could be health, it could be a place in the woods with your family where you're living a lifestyle that you want to have or you want to encourage.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you deem success. Success could be that you get to paint pretty pictures that you want to paint.
Yeah.
Right? But what prevents people from achieving success, in my humble opinion at 41 years old, is they are stuck in this world where want to is such a requirement and nobody wants to do everything that has to be done to achieve.
Well, I mean, dude, what was I thinking about? Just literally, it was yesterday. It was like, learning just to logically do the things that make sense. Like we're all going to experience sadness, frustration, be unmotivated, all of these different emotions. But logically, in certain cases, does honoring these emotions do what you want them to do in terms of, do they align with the outcome that you desire? Like, if you're at a really, really low place in your life, my guess is that you've listened to those emotions more often than not, right? You listen to impulse more often than not. Like, you have very good intentions. Intentions are meaningless unless there's action behind the intent, right? And so I think that we give ourselves credit for having good intentions, and we let ourselves off the hook just this one time, or just this or the. It's so brutal to go through like there's been guys that, hey, well, what's your workout routine? Tell me how you have abs or this, that. I'm like, you don't want it. I don't think that you understand. Like, people want what you have, the success that you have with your business. No, they don't, dude. When you say that, what you're saying is that you want to go through the struggle that Jeff has gone through to have what he has. And when I tell them, no, I do this every day. I run 10 miles, and then an hour later I'm at the gym. Like, when it snows, like I've ran when it's 22 degrees and snow's coming down. And I'm just like, dude, the other people won't do this. And that's what excites me, is it's just like, okay, this is undeniable proof to my mind that I'm doing something that nobody else is willing to do. So now, therefore, I'm now deserving of a result that they're no longer deserving of, right? We've met that threshold. And too many people find pain or discomfort and think that that's something that they should honor and back off, when in reality, the pain and discomfort, you're now at a new threshold that the old version of you means that old version of you is now struggling. And so if you continue to go past the threshold, that version of you that you are today now is morphing into something different. And that's the pain that you're currently experiencing, is the morph, right? And so if you back off from that, what you're saying is, no, I'm going to go back to the same old habits, the same old results, the same old version of me that I don't even like, versus going through that discomfort and going through that process that's morphing you into something that's special, and that's something that's better, that's now more deserving of a result that Jeff has. I want Jeff's result, but am I willing to go through the process that, fly on the planes, dude? I mean, how often are you out of town? I told you I'm a freaking hermit crab. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, so when I was running, it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was watching this guy run, and he was freaking blazing fast. And it upset me. I'm like, that guy. Like, and I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that this guy's outperforming me. And then I called myself out in that very moment. And it's like, well, that's not, you don't like having to train to be faster more than you don't like somebody else outperforming you.
That's right.
Right? So there's a dislike that's greater than the other. Me having to go to the track and run sprints versus these distance runs that I do, the pain of going through that is greater than the pain of watching this dude burn me.
That's right.
There's something that's more uncomfortable than the other, and the result that you have is because you chose your form of discomfort, right? Like, being overweight is uncomfortable, but guess what? Obviously, getting your ass out of bed and going to the gym is more uncomfortable than the discomfort that you're currently experiencing. Now, if you hated your financial situation so bad and that was so uncomfortable, you would get a second job, or you would work a little bit harder, or extra hours, or you would be willing to sacrifice the money that you currently have in your bank account in order to put yourself in a higher probability of success than the probability of success that you're currently experiencing, right? So there's a dislike that's more than the other. And so when I was watching the dude run, and I was like, I had to call myself out. I'm like, dude, you don't dislike it that much. You right. dislike this more than this, well, right?
And is that because, and I think a lot of people get stuck here, they're not at the bottom. You were at a low place, and you kept mentioning a low place. A low place is easy to climb out because you're near your bottom.
Yes.
It's when you're in that bottom half of your space where there's a lot lower you can go, so you can look down and go, you know what, I have it better than I'm complaining, but I have a roof over my head. I have a job. I have a family. Everyone's healthy, knock on wood. Like, if they're in that situation, I may not love my job. I may not love my look. I may not love my habits. I may not, but it could get worse. And then they justify mediocrity in life to themselves.
The mediocre middle.
The mediocre middle. Very well said.
We'll call it that.
I like that. Eminem.
Yeah, Eminem. This guy's rolling in the Eminem. That you're exactly right, because and weirdly enough, we were talking about this in the car an hour ago. How I listened to something on the way down, and the guy was sitting there saying, like, if there's a little bit of mold in your house, but it's not too moldy, it's passable. It's almost better if it was worse, because then you would do something about it, right? And so it's like, I guess the thing that I struggle with is like, when is going to be the low? Like, do you have to have a health scare to finally take your health seriously?
A lot of people do.
A lot of people do. Like, I look at it like this. Some mornings I play tricks with my mind because it tries to play tricks on me, right? Sure. So let's make it a level playing field. What if a doctor told me, in order for you to continue to live, just like somebody has to go get on dialysis for 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day and have their blood cleaned out because something's not filtering right in their body, right? What if a doctor told me, Trevor, you've got to get up and you have to run 2 hours every day in order to live, to survive? Would I do it? And the answer is yes. Of course I would do it. Anybody would make that trade. It seems worth it. You're telling me I get to live another day if I do this thing? And so, again, these are, and I was on a run 2 days ago with Nick, my videographer. And we were talking about how our legs were hurting after the run as we were walking back to the house, waddling or whatever. And I was like, man, just think about like pioneers and stuff, like coming from the East Coast that were trekking like 20 to 50 miles a day, carrying stuff, coming across the Grand Canyon. And I'm like, what's crazy is their everyday life was a massive, massive struggle, and the pain that they had to go through and experience was way greater than the pain of just running 10 miles a day. Like, we are so babied, and we have so many comforts that we just forget that there's so much gold in discomfort, right? And so much gold in struggle. And I just got to the point where I was like, man, watching these David Goggins guys and, doing incredible things, I'm like, wow, they're just crazy. Why would they do this? It doesn't even seem fun. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, well, why would they keep doing it? There's something there that I don't understand because I've yet to experience it. So if I haven't gone where they have gone, then of course I'm going to think it's crazy because I don't know I don't know what's on the other side of that. I don't know what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
But it's obviously good enough for them to continue to do it. So maybe they're not that crazy. Maybe there's just something on the other side of that that's so great, that's euphoric, that they get to experience every day, and we just call them crazy because we just don't understand it, because we've never tasted what they taste, because we've never took ourselves that far.
Well, it kind of goes back to that question I asked at the beginning about why we criticize. And does it come from a place of ignorance, or does it come from a place of ignorance? I want what you have, but I won't do what you're willing to do. So
I think it's both. I think it's ignorance and that. I think it's both.
Because at this point in life, right, we're both about the same age. We grew up pre-internet. Internet came as we were young adults.
Y2K. Yeah.
So the ability to learn, get information, understand, get exposure, see things, etc., has never been easier. So we talk about formulas. If you want to get in shape, there's a gazillion ways you can learn how to do that. You want to get good in business, there's a million things you can learn, read, watch, gurus, YouTube, stories.
That's part of the problem. I think it's so much information.
But before there was none. And
none.
You still have the same percentage.
Yes.
Which means it's not lack of information.
Yeah.
It's lack of the commitment to do it and to realize that average always is moving, because as technology comes, the average continues to move. And when you are stuck in average, no matter what that average is, to your point, you can go back 200 years and the average was a lot worse than it is today. They would have loved the average of today. Would have been like the top of the mountain.
You're telling me I don't got to go 30 miles a day and I can just sit on the couch
and watch TV?
Yeah.
And I can run on a treadmill in the air conditioning?
Average. Yeah, exactly.
But average never feels good. Average is uninspiring. Average makes everyone be in that either mediocre middle or at the bottom. It makes them look at their life and internalize and say, I don't have, I want what other people have. I look at social media and I see Trevor killing it. I want that. But to your point, am I willing to do what Trevor does to get that? And I'm on a mission with the show to help people not only understand the formulas of successful people and some of the things that you've already outlined here about how you play tricks on your mind, how you realize what you need to do, but secondarily, help them come to the clarity, which is, don't wait for a health scare to be the healthiest version of you. Don't wait for your financial crisis to get your financial house in order. Don't wait for a divorce or a breakup or loneliness to get your relationships in order. Be the human being that will attract and get all of those things, but it does require 360 degrees of focus, and you have to aim for success in every element of life. And I've watched you, and again, I say this because I know your backstory. And for those who don't know, I mean, there was a period in time, you say your low was a few years ago. I question if that was even your lowest low, because there was a period of time with drugs and needles that had to have been a lower part.
I mean, that was a part where, I mean, it got very, I mean, I've had guns to my head, a knife right up to my Adam's apple. You know, I mean, I've had those experiences, but I was numb to emotion and feeling, really, in those situations, right? Like when I went through a midlife crisis, so to speak, I could feel it, right? I wasn't really numbing it out with something like drugs, right? And so, yes, that was a super low point, but, you know, at least when I was on drugs, like there was hope that maybe one day I'd be clean. There was hope that one day that maybe, you know, so I'd hang on to it a little bit, but it really, you know, like to your point, didn't really do much. I still woke up the next day and used again and used again and used again until there was a point where I was almost 24 years old and I was looking around and seeing people like my same age that are graduating college and driving nicer cars and starting to have children. And I'm like, I want that. Like that's one common theme with me is like when I watch somebody do something, like whether it's the Goggins of the world or this, that, and I feel something, I want that. I believe that if you feel something when you see something, that means that something's for you. If I watch Michael Phelps swim a lap, I don't give a shit. That means swimming's not for me. Sure. If I you know watch the best tennis player in the world, I'm not inspired to go play tennis or soccer. That's not my thing over there. But if I watch somebody do something and it ignites an emotion in me, maybe there's something in me that should pursue that. So in that low point right there where I was watching cars, didn't know where I was going to sleep that night, and I'm watching people my same age drive by with a spouse, and you see a kid in the back seat, and I'm like, man, I want that. Like, and so that was it right there. That was the low that I needed to be like, well, where's my life going? Like, am I going to be 40 years old and be a drug addict? You know, and there were a few moments through that where I did accept that being my reality, because I would try to quit and I couldn't, right? Obviously, I just didn't want it bad enough in those moments. And I just was like, maybe this is just it for the rest of my life. And I know that there's people that like are looking at their reality right now and might not like it. And they've come to a point probably several times and being like, this is it. This is just, they're accepting what they're currently experiencing. And I did that but the cool thing about it is if you keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting, hopefully you'll, you know, and I wouldn't even say hopefully, I believe as long as you continue moving forward, even know that you waver and you fall. And I tried to quit and I failed and I failed and I failed and I failed. But eventually I found that moment where it worked for me, right? And then at that point, it was, I was going through withdrawals up on a mountain. Again, I'm a big believer in environments. So I went up onto a mountain in a camp trailer. No cell phone service, I can't get off of it. I had to create an environment that there was no escaping, because I already knew that the version of me going through the pain would want to make a phone call and get hooked up so that I wouldn't have to experience that. So the environment was created.
Yep.
It was set in stone. I'm going up atop to this mountain, gonna, you know, deal with my bad decisions head on. And, you know, I did that for 10 days. And in the middle of that, I said, I will never do anything ever again that makes me have to feel what I'm currently feeling ever again. So some people, it's the 12-step I don't care how you do it. Work whatever works for you. I'm a very stubborn person. I don't really like people telling me what to do. I'll figure it out on my own, which has served me in some cases and is one of my weaknesses in some cases, right? But I never look back after that.
Well, you say it's a weakness, but I will say what I've observed is while you don't like people telling you what to do, you're very perceptive to pick up the things that they're doing.
Yes.
So they don't have to tell you; they're going to show you.
Yeah. I listen to the feeling that I get when I see other people doing it, and I let that feeling be my guide. That's what's telling me what to do. Because if it doesn't feel good, guess what? Doing bad in the world doesn't feel good. Talking down to somebody, dude, that doesn't feel good. Like, selfishly, I like to build people up because it feels good. I'm getting high on my own supply. I'm pulling levers in my brain that make me feel good, running in the morning and lifting and surrounding myself with positive people and inspiring others and pouring into, like, all of those things. It just comes back and it feels good. So, that's a selfish reason to do it, is because it comes back to you.
Sure.
So.
And outside of the business and outside of the fitness, I do like that you approach all things with that same intentionality, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so you also have a show, Real Business Owners, which is a great show where you have really interesting conversations with people, business owners, and help the business community. But you now also have a mastermind.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about your mastermind is you're going back. You went to the spirit of what a mastermind is.
Because it felt right.
Because it felt right.
Yeah.
But most masterminds, I've had the privilege of speaking at a lot of them.
Yeah.
They're just different. They're not they call themselves a mastermind.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's more of it's
an event.
It's an event with an education component.
Yes.
There's a lot of learning.
Yes.
But it's not a lot of community helping each other. It's a lot of speaking to.
Yes.
And you've kind of reshaped that.
Dude, I was just literally listening to Think and Grow Rich in my truck. And it was talking about, how the old timers back in the day, how they got together, and what they did is they shared information. They lifted each other up, right? And so it was like they didn't really say, hey, let's get together and bring somebody else in, an outsider, to tell us. It was just everybody had unique skills, unique perspectives. They all understand struggle. They all, like, I might be better at something in business than you. You might be better, like, we could serve each other in the areas where we're weak, right? If I'm not a great marketer and you're amazing at it, and, I'm great with building team culture. And I'm like, dude, look, you could really work on this and this and this in your business on the culture side. And then you can be like, hey, Trevor, have you tried this in terms of marketing, right? There's a lot of great information that's already in a business group or mastermind, and they put a bunch of people in the chairs to stare at somebody else on stage that has amazing experiences and a great story to tell. And I'm not saying it's not informative or anything like that, but for me, you're the king of this, dude. Relationship capital, right? Like, you wrote the book on it, I mean, literally. And so it's like, how many relationships can really be curated shoulder to shoulder, looking up at one person, telling them their story, right? I believe that we should put people together to where the relationships, I believe that the power of the mastermind is the relationships within inside of the mastermind. And the more that I take them away from each other to say, hey, listen to that person, the less that they're building a relationship, right? I don't want to be the reason why people join. Airbnb created entire businesses off of not owning houses, right? Or Uber not owning any cars. Like, I want a business mastermind not because of who I am, but because of the environment that I'm creating and curating, because of the people that are within it that are special, that are great, that are knowledgeable, that have the ability to serve each other. So the core concept of a mastermind is a group of people coming together and sharing intellectual knowledge with each other. And they say, high tides raise all ships, right? Like, we are the tide, right? We will raise each other up. And so, that was something that I tweaked and changed within the last 6 months, because I just felt right to me as I was listening to that. And I was just like, dude, that's so true. It is just people coming together and sharing information in areas or fields that they're the expert in, and then taking another person on. The last one was SOPs. And so the best people that were systems and they shared their systems and processes and how they built them. And we said, this quarter, you guys all go build your systems and processes, because otherwise you're not going to be able to scale, right? Like why worry about marketing first and more if that's not taken care of? And so in June, the next one's going to be around marketing, right? Because let's go kind of in order, right? And so, and again, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I don't know. It feels right to me, and and we've been doing it, and it's been awesome. And I think once a year, we'll host an event together where it can be more of an event style, versus sharing intellectual knowledge between each other.
No, but I think you say you're not sure if it's right. Well, it's right for the group that you have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because everything's right for the right community.
Yeah. And I brought it to them. I said, this is what I'm thinking, you guys. And it just feels right to me. And they're like, oh, we love it. Yeah. They're like, if it feels right, then do it. And I'm like, let's do it.
And so for all of us listening who maybe are like, that sounds very refreshing, that sounds like something I may want to be a part of, how would someone listening either get more information about it, get exposure to it, learn a little bit more? What's that process to get the invitation to be part of it? Yeah.
And again, this will sound super cliche. It's going to sound cliche, and it is what it is. You can't find anything out there about it. You won't see it on the Instagram. You don't see it on the stories or anything like that. Now, we do have an inner circle that's $397 a month, and there's 130 people or something like that in that group. And then we have what we call our family, and there's 24 people in that group. That right there that's an environment that I have to put myself in. And I'm not going to put myself in an environment just because you're paying us $1,500 a month. I don't care that much about your money. I care about the quality of people that I have to surround myself with. And in this case, I get to surround myself with because it is curated, right? And I don't spend money. I don't advertise or anything like that. Now, every so often we find people in the inner circle, we're like, dude, they would be a great family member. That's the type of person that we would want to have, on these quarterly meetups. If I have to spend 2 days with you every single quarter, I better not hate you. You better not be an asshole or a taker. Yep. Have like that taker energy. You should be of service. And the cool thing is when you're of service and you're also in that environment, the ground's super fertile for you to grow too. And really that's kind of like the mindset behind it. And so if somebody wants to know more about the inner circle, they can go to joinrbo.com, and it's literally just name, phone number, and email, and you have to hop on a phone call because, again, even that has to be right. I believe this is a slower burn and a slower way to do it versus just a landing page and saying sign up right there and give us your money. But at the end of the day, I think I'm doing something that's right because it feels right to me. And if somebody gets on a phone call with us and it feels right and they're of service and we kind of go over the ground rules of the group, so to speak, and it feels right to them, then we say, hey, let's do this thing and have them sign up, and maybe one day they'll be a part of the family. So,
well, as I said, I mean, it's very refreshing getting to observe and see how you're curating that community, the way you're doing it, the spirit behind it, and the why you're doing it. It's very different than the most, and I think it's better. Yeah. Because, and I say better, let me say that differently. It's better for the people who should be part of that. Yeah. There are people who aren't in a position, in a place in life where maybe they want that. Yeah. They do want to be shoulder to shoulder. They need to learn more. They want to get to networking. They want to kind of just get a feel, but they're not ready to. Where I started. Sure.
And it helped me. Yep. So it's not bad.
No. Bad. That's why I said better. I chose the wrong vocabulary word. Yeah. It's refreshing. Yeah. It's different.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you've been an inspiration to me, obviously, since I met you the very first time at an event and then got to hang out with you guys in St. George. And that's why I've been pestering you for so long to get your ass down here, because we do it in person.
Hopefully it was worth all the pestering.
Of course it is.
I feel like I just throw up all over a microphone and don't shut up half the time, but hopefully it was valuable to somebody,
Your approach
Yeah.
You are successful. And this is what this show's about.
Yeah.
Who we bring in and have sit in this chair are people who have achieved success. And again, success is not just dollars and cents. Success is, I want these goals.
Yeah.
These are my goals, and did I achieve them?
Yeah.
And you have a track record of exceeding those goals, doing a self-inventory when things are off.
Yeah.
Falling down and figuring out how you pick yourself back up to achieve the next goal, not being happy with some goals you did pick. So you're doing and living the same experience that so many people are, but achieving the highest level of results. And I think you're doing it because you have the right focus, approach, and formula.
Yeah.
And so our ability to extrapolate some of that for the audience today and get them exposed to the Trevor Cowley way of thinking and saying, wait, what am I doing with my environment? Am I in an environment that's going to breed and allow me to grow into the person I need to be to get the result that I believe I want? And then if I achieve it and I realize, you know what, maybe that's not what I wanted, is my life over? Or if I'm dealing with drugs or substance abuse or behaviors that are less than, does that mean I can't get? You're an example that I can. Does it mean that once I make all that money and it doesn't make me happy? You have shown a path.
You shift.
And whether, since you don't like to be told what to do, so doesn't, a lot of people don't like to be told what to do, but we can learn and observe from you. And that's why it's been such a goal of mine to have you come here.
Yeah.
Because we also do a little business together.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to watch how you've acted in that capacity as well. And like I said, I think that you are a living, breathing example of a man who has his values, who understands the path to success. And I want to make sure that everyone gets to experience that because we can all learn from you.
Oh, my God.
I mean, you're also 6'1".
I love you. Yes, I'm 6'1", 250 for those that don't know.
Yes.
Just don't Google it, or don't come to
And
don't go
together,
to a
I'm
live
6'4".
Don't go to a live event or anything. Just keep watching on video.
No, but I mean this.
Appreciate
I mean
that,
this
man.
seriously.
That means
like,
a lot.
That's why I've been bothering you for a year and a half.
Well, I highly respect you. And I was telling the guys that I'm just like, dude, he's one of the good ones, and there's not too many people that I, again, leave my little nook and cranny for, but I do value the man that you are, what you've accomplished, and how you treat people and how you do business, all of those things. And so it was an honor to share time and space with you again.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
but before we're done, we got rapid fire.
Oh, okay.
So we got 3 questions.
Okay, let me take a sip.
Take a sip.
So
Take a sip. Get ready.
Okay, let me loosen up.
I know you already got your 10 in.
Yeah.
This is your 3rd workout of the day.
Yeah, I've got 2 in today so far. I'm, I think 13 miles in today.
Okay. So this is the way it works. You're gonna stare at camera 1.
Stare at camera 1.
I'm gonna ask you 3 questions, one in a row. You'll answer each question in about 30
already,
seconds
bro.
to a minute.
I can see it myself in the camera, bro. You're gonna make me sweat with this rapid fire stuff.
It's got to go.
Okay, I don't
you
want to
ready?
mess up the way it goes.
Okay. How do you define a real business owner?
Well, the name real business owner came about originally because of social media. There's pictures of people on a laptop at a beach, a real business owner of what it actually is and how it's portrayed is construed. I was experiencing a different reality than what I would see on social media as an individual building and operating businesses. And so the look that social media said that is business ownership versus what I was experiencing, that wasn't in alignment to my truth. And so we were like, okay, let's do this thing and talk about real experiences of building a business and the struggle. So for me, a real business owner is an individual that is willing to put their head down and do the difficult work and go through the struggle and show up every single day still ready to fight in a positive way, and that shows up for their employees in a service-first mentality rather than hiring people to try to serve them. To me, that embodies a real business owner.
How important is personal growth to a business owner?
I think that you'll find that you will become the bottleneck very, very quickly if you do not develop yourself. For me, I know that when I first started making money and it was, 100, 150 grand and I was young, nobody could tell me what to do. I thought I was the man. And, and that mentality of not needing to grow or try to evolve kept me at that exact same income with the exact same problems that I experienced year after year after year, in direct proportion to us investing into self-improvement. In other words, joining masterminds and going to events, the income went from a couple hundred to 400 to 900 to 1.6 million. And it was year after year, it was doubling. And the only thing that was really different were the people that we were surrounding ourselves with and our willingness to evolve and to grow and develop self. So I'm a big believer of it.
And finally, what advice would you give someone struggling who needs to recreate that environment for their success? Specifically, what would you advise them to do?
What would I advise somebody struggling?
With their environment.
With their environment? Go be alone. And when you're alone, you're going to start having to do a lot of introspection to figure out what your values are, what you want your life to look like, who you want to surround yourself with. So you actually have to remove yourself of all people and all environments and be with yourself so that you can understand how you want your life to look, because your life looks the way it does based upon the environments that you put yourself in. And so if you don't change that environment or the people that you surround yourself with, then the result that you're currently experiencing, or that low or that struggle that you currently are facing, will remain. And so something, get rid of the anchor, drop the environment, get to a place where it feels like you're in no man's land and you're going through a lonely time and going through that low. Recreate yourself, figure out what your values are so that you know how to recreate yourself. And then as you are recreating yourself and you're developing into this new version of you, you're going to start attracting those same type of people that have the values that you now have and that you now operate with, that will serve you for many years to come.
Well, there you have it. Change your environment, change your outcome. The Trevor Cowley way to success.
I think it's 1, 2, 3 ABCs, that's how you do it. So,
well, dude, thank you, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate you coming and pouring into the audience here.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many entrepreneurs that can learn not only how to be successful in business from you, but how to build the foundation for a successful life.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that's what we all need to strive to do and raise each other up. And I want to thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Hey everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And if you guys haven't heard about my new book, Relationship Bank Account, click the link in the show notes or search the title on Amazon. This book is packed with all my secrets to success in both relationships and life. Make sure to pick up a copy, and if the book helps you on your journey, let us know by leaving a review. I appreciate all of you and can't wait to see you on the next one.